When working with Autodesk Takeoff, we first of all need to make sure that the application has been selected. I'm just going to my project admin, selecting my username, and then coming down the right hand side, and you'll see here we have Takeoff. I'm just going to turn this on, so this will now be available to utilize. Now from my product selector, I can select Takeoff. There are a number of things we need to do before we get started. As you'll see on the screen here as a Get Started window, we need to define our classification and measurement system we're going to use. Then we're going to upload some files, and then we're going to start creating some packages. Let's first of all select our classification. As you can see here, our project settings need to be defined for measurement systems first of all. This will either be imperial or metric. In this case, I'm choosing metric. We have to define at least one classification system. As you'll see here, if we drop down the window, we can utilize a sample file by selecting here, or we can upload a custom classification system we've created ourselves. We can download the template from here. We can utilize a Excel spreadsheet to upload the information that we require. Please ensure that you read the instructions and do not remove or edit any of the columns other than adding the data required. I'm going to add in a few fields here to utilize as my classification system. Here we go, we've populated this spreadsheet with all the information we need. First of all, we need to upload it directly into Autodesk Takeoff. We can simply import the Excel spreadsheet directly into the system, as shown. Here you can see all the fields have been populated directly in the system. Let's leave the second classification as we only need one on this project. We can now switch back to the Home tab. We need to add 2D files and 3D models to this location. I'm going to select the files area on the left hand side here. This allows me to see the files which are stored in Autodesk Docs. I can then transfer them over into Takeoff. Go to my shared area. So I'm going to choose these drawings here. I'm going to go for the room layouts and selecting Publish to Takeoff. So what this is going to do now is going to take the files. We'll need to give it first of all a version set. It's sort of a package of work that we're going to share into the system that we can utilize. Let's just call it architectural. We're going to give it a date, i.e. today. So this will be its new version set. So we're going to go next, continue. It's important to bear in mind if you're sending across a number of drawings, it can take a few moments to do so. The drawings are now being displayed. I'm just going to use the row height here and just drag it a little bit smaller so you can see all the drawings. So what this is doing, it's using an OCR scanner to extract the data from the drawing sheet. And at the moment, you'll see here it's highlighting these three sheets. It's picking a certain bit of information. So all we need to do is select in the little dialog box on the left hand side. We can do one at a time or multiples at a time. And then I'm going to select Draw Sheet Number Area. I'm going to go into one of the drawings. I can simply using my mouse to scroll in and do a window around the area I want to extract, i.e. the drawing number. Once I've done this, I'm just going to click Save and Apply, and it goes back to the second screen, so the main screen here, and it should now extract the drawing information. Once again, it can take a few moments if you've got a number of drawings that you've uploaded at this time. It's extracted that data out, so we can easily do that. We can edit the sheet number. I'm going to go now add the titles in. So again, this is doing the same sort of principle. I'm going to select all three drawings. I'm going to click on Draw Sheet Title Area, and then once it's loaded, I can zoom into the area. For example, right here, I'm going to extract the drawing title information, save and apply, and extract the data and populate the fields here. Quickly done this. If we've already created tags, which in this case we haven't, we'll be able to select here and add specific tags. Now I'm going to make this simple and go to Edit Tags at the top, and I'm going to create some new tags to add in. So for example, I'm going to call this Architectural Rooms, press enter, add and apply. Now we can do multiple ones at the same time. I'm just going to add one, apply. This is now done. I'm going to publish my sheets and publish these drawings from Autodesk Docs into the Takeoff environment. As you can see here, I can now click on View Sheets. And what they should do, they should be now available for me to view. So we now have some drawings loaded. If I go back to the Home window, You'll see here we should now have another tick. So simply what we've got to do now is create some packages. I'm going to go over to packages on the left hand side and create some new packages. We have the ability to go to our settings. This allows us to go back and, for example, say we wanted to change our classification system before we get started. Let's just switch back to packages and let's go and create some packages. Okay, so the package could be anything. It could be an entire architectural package, it could be a structural package where it could be concrete, steel, whatever it could be. For example, in this case, I'm going to look at flooring. I'm going to create the package. Now I'm going to create another one. Let's call this walls. It's another package. Call it windows. Let's call this windows and doors in this case. They're now available for us to select, and you'll see if I click a package. Now in here what I'm going to do on the left hand side, I'm going to select my first drawing, and in this case I'm going to pick the entry level drawing. First thing we need to do is scale the view. So you'll see at the top here it says scale not set, so we need to set that. Now one of two things here. You'll notice it's an A3 drawing at 1 to 100. We can utilise the drawing itself by picking, for example, 2 points, adding a value. It should look at the scaling appropriately for us. In this case, what I'm going to do is just simply click on here where it says scale not set and change it to 1 to 100, because I know the drawing is set at 1 to 100. So if I was to take a dimension from here to here, the value should be correct. Okay, so let's take a quick dimension just to check. So I'm going to go pick on the point here, pick on the point there, and you'll see the dimension is correct. So what we need to do now, I'm just going to click on here to zoom to fit so it zooms out for me, is I want to extract the floor area of all these rooms. On the left hand side, I'm going to come over here and you'll see first thing I've got is my sheets and models, which I've got 3. I'm now going to select takeoff types and I'm going to create a type. So this is the type of information that I'm going to extract. So I'm going to click on create type and you'll see I'm going to give it a name. Let's call this corridor, and because it's the entry level, I'm just going to put in brackets 00 so I know that. You'll notice we have a tool here which allows us to take off the area. We can do linear, we can do count, and then we can do what it calls BIM, which is 3D model extract data. I'm going to use the area one. We can change the appearance colour if we require, and its border colour yet again if we require. We can add a description. I would always recommend adding a description in here in some cases because of the title. People may not understand what it is. Now we need to do a primary output, so I'm going to go add here, put a name in here. I can select my classification list, which is here, which I've already done, and you can see here there's some to choose from. So I can go in here and actually select. So I'm going to look at the finishes to the floor. Now, what it's going to do is look at the area of measurement and how it's going to take data off. So for example, if I was just counting the number of doors, I can go in and use count. Now, because I'm taking off an area, I need to look at how I can specify this. Now there's some in the list already, but if I click view more, it gives my list further. Now in this case, I'm going to take off square meters, and it'll allow me to do that on the screen. So as I've done that, I'm going to click on the box there. We can add additional outputs. So once done, we can simply go start takeoff. It pops it to the right hand side, and you can see here I've got corridor and it's got area. There's no area been taken right now. So down the bottom you'll see the area action is available. I can simply click to start, and you'll see if I move my cursor across the screen, I can then click other points in here like so, and then finish the action. It's now created my area for me. Now what you'll see as part of this is if I just escape out of there to stop the command, we can connect to the little nodes on the actual shape. So for example, I can drag this back and forward if I've decided that's not correct. For example, I could say I want it to go to this line here. But I also, for example, if I right click on that node, I can insert a vertex. So I can extend the line and shape around. I can always right click again, remove the vertex, and then put it back to where it needs to. So I've now created the floor area here. Now it's simple, I've just done one, and I can create multiple different types if I wanted to. But for example, rather than creating this all as single elements, I could go in and say, well, actually, I want to create another area, and then click, and done. I've just pressed enter to complete this. Another option here, I'm going to hold my left mouse button, and I'm going to drag it across, and it creates a shape for me. So I'm quickly creating that area specifically in there. Now you notice I've called this corridor. I'm actually going to change this. I'm just going to say it's going to be level 0 for the actual area. So I'm quickly going to create all the rest of the areas in here. I've did it as corridor, but I changed my mind. I'm going to go in here. I'm just going to change this. So let's call this entry floor. As we've got all the flooring done, we now need to switch and add our walls in. Because we've set up another package, I can simply select the walls package, and the drawing is still the same drawing, but I'm going to create my walls under a different package. I'm going to do my takeoff again, go into here, and for example, I'm going to put in the title of internal walls. I'm going to select my linear, and I can go in here and select the relevant colour. I'll just stick with the brown one I've got. So I'm going to put a description. So I'm going to go into my primary output. So let's just say wall lengths. I'm going to set my classification. And you'll see in here I can just simply go in, select the one I want. Instead of doing count, I do not want count. I want it in meters because I'm doing the length, or in this case distance. Start takeoff, and you'll see if I zoom in here, I'll start with this wall at this point, draw my line to the wall here, click again, I'm going to zoom out, come all the way over to the other side and click. Now you can see it's going to start again, so I'm just going to press enter to stop, and then I can put my next walls in. So I'm going to now complete the walls on the rest of the drawing. So if, for example, you've drawn a wall that's too long here, we can simply click on the end of it, drag it back, and there we go. So now we have our wall lengths for the internal walls, the entry level plan. So next thing, I'm just going to switch over to my doors and windows, perform the same sort of tasks. I'm going to go in here, I'm going to do takeoff, and let's call this external. And this time I'm going to do count. I'm going to select this of a triangle, and I can change the size if I wanted to. Again, I'm going to put in the primary name, select the classification, pick on the list, on external windows, it's going to be count, click on start takeoff, and simply just click, click, click in here, and it's completed it. Now one thing that you can do, for exactly based on this, I've just used the title of external windows. If you know the size of that window, you could obviously put the title in as appropriate for that window itself. So I'm going to add another one, and I'm going to call this internal doors. Again, select the count. I'm going to choose, let's use the diamond this time. Happy with that colour. Again, just put in here doors, select classification, and go in and then select it and then place. So I'm going to start the takeoff and literally click, going around, selecting all the doors. Actually, I'm going to come back and remove that one because basically it is a double door and I want to count how many single doors there are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back just to quickly edit that one, say internal single doors, and then change that one to here just to confirm it's this output. So I now can hit save. I now have that saved. So what I have is a number of packages created based on this plan. So I've got the area, I've got the walls, I've got the doors. So I can easily switch between each one. See if we go into the walls display. We can have an inventory list of all this information. So down here on the bottom left, if I click the little inventory button, it will list all the information that I've now extracted. So firstly at the top we can select whether it's the classification list, whether it's by document, i.e. from the specific drawing, or whether it's the takeoff type, i.e. for example doors, windows, etc. Or even the location if you've assigned a location to this. I'm going to just stick with the classification one. So you'll see here if I pop this down, it's actually showing me the floor finishes and then the specific floors. So for example, if I select the floor finishes and go across the right hand side, actually let's just expand this a little bit more for you so you can see it. You see there is the entire list. I can export this information directly out into Excel, so I can utilize that if I want to. So for example, if I go to the overall and go export, it's going to take the information off. I can then select the Excel spreadsheet. As you'll see, I populate it on the screen. It's got all the information. So for example, it's going by the classification, naming. It's got how many instances there are, total quantity, its units, the classification type it's been assigned to, its specific codes and description, and also which drone it's come from. So that easily extracts the information that you need for this. Let's switch out of here now and go back into our files area and then bring across a 3D model. So for example, let's just go back to our work in progress area and let's go to structures and let's bring across the structural model. Again, this is a simple process. We can select the model file, we can click publish, and then this will take a copy of it across into the sheets and models area. Now this time, because it works slightly differently, you'll see it's not extracting data from the model, it's just allowing us to copy in. Now we can upload files directly into here if we need to. So you'll see here we have 2D sheets and 3D models. I can select the 3D model. So you'll see in here we've got all the tools and functionality I had before. I'm going to create a package, and you notice here I currently don't have one. So I'm going to go in and call this one structural columns. So this will now give me the option to choose this model. And because I'm going to utilize the model itself, I'm going to go over to my takeoff types and let's call this one structural. And it's going to automatically select the BIM tool here. I'm going to put a description in, so this is going to, if I do the primary output, so I want to say, I haven't got a classification in here, so I'm going to leave that blank for now. I'm going to do counterpart of this and just do takeoff. So as you'll see, I'm going to go in and I'm going to highlight and select all 4 columns in here and click the tick. You'll see they're highlighted in the colour I wanted, so that's nicely done. Now what I can do to make life easier, I can come down here and utilise the form clusters functionality. So basically it's taking all the file elements, just so it makes sense, and you'll see it's taking all the elements out. So for example, we've got the columns here, foundations, structural beams. So that's actually taken and extracted that data out. I can go around and select the other elements. So this instance, instead, I'm going to pick this one, but you'll see here it's automatically selecting the column. I don't want it to do that, so I need to create a new one. So I'm going to call this structural beams. Again, got a colour, primary output, and again, not our classification, so I'm just going to do count, select the takeoff. This time, what I can do is I can select the element, right click on the screen, and I can go and select all the other types within here. So you'll see it's selected all those beam types. Some are longer than the others, some are shorter. So I'm going to click on the green tick, click on the tick again, and it's highlighted them. So you'll see the ones that are coloured in have been included as part of the package. If I come down here, you'll see they're included. Now one thing I didn't do, I call this structural columns. I should rename the package to call it structural, but you'll see I've got beams and columns in here. What I can do is I can go back to the classification list, add in our structural elements,